So if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, I him, now me, I him, now me, and then that guy gets arrested for child charges, like what is going on here?
But there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well.
I don't believe this kid right now could possibly be the
I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird going on with this.
I know.
None of these things make any sense to me. Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof. He jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet.
Charlie Kirk's death. A tragedy, yes. But was it random? According to Joe Rogan, it wasn't. It was planned, premeditated. A shocking twist, right? What started as a devastating loss is now one of the year's most bizarre, murky events. A whirlwind of questions, rumors, and suspicion. And Joe? He's not holding back. He's pushing deeper into the chaos, challenging the story the world's been fed, questioning every move, every action, even those of Charlie's widow. The plot thickens.
Nothing is a coincidence. Hold on to that thought. Did you know that Charlie Kirk's father, Robert W. Kirk, was actually the architect for Trump Towers? Also, did you know that Erica Kirk won Miss Arizona USA in 2012? Don't forget, Donald Trump ran Miss America from 1996 until 2015. Seeing the correlation here? Now, not saying age difference is a big thing, but did you know Erica was 5 years Charlie Sr.? But this is where coincidences aren't coincidences. People, this was so arranged. And there's so much more to Erica Kirk. Kind of like how she was all into basketball, didn't want to be all girly, never liked to dress up, even cut all her hair off, and ended up being Miss USA. How does that happen? How do you go from sports to Miss USA? And then they meet at a turning point event in 2018, where she's interviewing for a job for Turning Point.
It all kicked off when Joe Rogan brought it up on his podcast. The official story? It didn't add up. Rogan highlighted bizarre details the mainstream media ignored, like the photo of the alleged suspect, a 22-year-old holding what appeared to be a scoped hunting rifle. But here's the kicker. The weapon was too pristine, too high-tech for the situation they claimed. Something didn't sit right.
I almost texted you when the Charlie Kirk thing happened because my antennas went up about, they showed the photo of that kid, or the guy that they have, the 22-year-old,
Yeah.
whatever. And I was almost going to be like, dude, you think he's got the capability to do that?
Yeah, well, listen, there are people that look like that have the capability to do that.
Pretty
yes.
accurate.
Nope,
No?
not hard. Not hard at
Not
all.
hard.
Let me dispel that.
Okay.
Okay, 200 yards from a prone position with a dead-on rifle. So if you have a dead-on rifle, so you set this rifle, you set your 0 to 200 yards, right? You know how far you're going to It is not hard at all.
He a lot.
You don't have to a lot.
So
I could do it tomorrow.
If you're no, but you are experienced. If it's someone that's never could they do it?
100%. Not
Really?
if they've never they wouldn't know where to look. They'd have a hard time acquiring the like when you look through a scope, like with the reticle is weird. Like it's sometimes
Takes a
hard.
minute.
You got to know the distance that you have to be from it to really line it up in your sights. But you could get a guy like my friend Andy Stump, who was a sniper in the SEALs. You could get him, and he could show you how to do it in an afternoon, and then you could hit steel at 200 yards every time you pull the trigger.
One day you could learn
Yeah.
that. Wow.
Yeah. Not that hard.
Because it feels insane to me. I'm like, that
No.
seems tough.
It seems tough. We still haven't figured out whether or not the gun that Trump had a sight on it, because we weren't sure if it had a sight on it or if this guy was using iron sights. That was 140 yards. If you shot with iron sights, that's a lot harder, because iron sights is you're lining up. So you have these two things in the back and there's one thing at the front of the barrel, and
Right.
you got to line those up perfectly, and that's how you stay accurate. That is a lot harder to do.
It's like
That
old
is-
have those, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
pistols.
Yeah,
Like
pistols
you can
got
buy a
them.
Glock,
Yeah.
that's what it comes with.
Right.
But this kid had a rifle with a scope. Now, here's where it gets weird. The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle. So a 30-06, so that's the rifle. 30-06 is like, that looks like a very modern looking stock. I mean, it might not be. It might be just a bad resolution. It might be wood. It's hard to tell. But if you showed me that and you said, hey, this is my cousin's rifle, is this any good? I'd be like, looks like a standard bolt action rifle, looked like a sophisticated modern scope on it, sure. Now, apparently, the narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, why? Wait.
Then came the other man, older, frantic. Right after the claim, he shouted, "I did it!" And as if that wasn't enough, he stripped off his pants. A scene that felt straight out of a chaotic nightmare, leaving everyone wondering, what was really going on here?
First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing. Right after, so somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail for child. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him.
Right.
Right, and because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? Like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT perplexity things, like, what are the odds that this guy would be at all those different events and be involved? Like, zero.
This is the guy?
Yeah.
I just like that the pants down part is just insane to me. It's like, why is your out, dude?
I did it. Listen, I'm not saying this guy isn't insane. He's clearly insane.
Yeah.
Or not. Or he's professionally insane.
Right.
For Rogan, this wasn't just weird. It felt orchestrated. A series of bizarre events, all too perfectly timed, giving the real perpetrators a chance to cover their tracks. It looked less like coincidence and more like a carefully crafted smokescreen.
There's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the f*** up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit.
Not going to fit in a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? What's that about?
Is that what they pitched, huh?
Yeah. And then he's supposed to get it in that stupid backpack. It's literally, it makes no sense.
And the elevator music was a nice touch, by the way.
Yeah. So this is just a narrative, right?
Yeah.
We watch a guy jump off the roof, and then we supposedly find this rifle. So if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, I him, now me, I him, now me, and then that guy gets arrested for child charges, like he's like, what is going on here?
So
and then
weird.
you find this rifle, and then you say, oh, he assembled it and he reassembled it. Like, okay. I wish I was a cop. I'd sit in a room like, this story is horse.
A short clip of Rogan's comments exploded across social media. Elon Musk, tagged in the post, fired back with one of his signature cryptic lines: "The truth doesn't hide forever." That single sentence sent the internet into a frenzy. Within hours, everyone was replaying Rogan's segment frame by frame, desperate to decode Musk's message and what it might reveal about what Rogan knew.
Like, the more they keep looking into it, the more they're like, this doesn't feel like a real... It feels super fabricated.
But here's the thing. Just like I was talking about when people are arguing on social media, it's all part of the plan. If you want things to be...
I wanted it so bad.
If you want people to lose all faith that anyone is going to solve anything, you add a bunch of... If you're going to kill a guy, you add a bunch of other wacky that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it.
Right.
out in the woods. You do a bunch of like that.
You have an
get
old man
some
put his
fairy-
dick out and yell, I did it, I did it, I did it.
Yeah, you get some kid who has a boyfriend who's a furry, and
His
you
boyfriend is a
talk to him on
furry?
Discord.
As the clip exploded across the internet, chaos followed. Two giants, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, had stepped into a case everyone thought was long buried. Coincidence? Or a signal? Then Musk made it stranger. He started liking posts from Candace Owens, the same commentator who once accused the media of hiding the truth about Charlie Kirk's death. Within hours, hashtags about Kirk's widow were trending. Forums went wild. The internet was convinced Rogan and Musk knew something the world didn't. Even mainstream outlets joined the frenzy, pretending to stay neutral, but every headline poured gasoline on the fire. And when Rogan's full podcast dropped, things got darker. He didn't just raise questions, he tore the story apart. The weapon, the timeline, the suspect's bizarre behavior, the silence from investigators. Rogan said what everyone was thinking. If this were a movie, nobody would buy it. But this wasn't fiction. This was real. And the story was far from over.
Sickening is definitely the right adjective, I think, to describe how a lot of us are feeling. And all I know how to do is to gather information, to research, and to investigate. And nothing is making sense. Now, it could not be making sense because we've not arrived at the conclusion. The FBI, I will say, has recently come out and said they're looking for another person. Good, because what we have so far obviously cannot be it. I feel, I was insisting that everybody read that book, Chaos, about the Charles Manson murders. And what we learn from that book is that if the government does want to hide something, what they do is they give you so much information that you can't, you don't even know what's real. So many different possible ways that things could have gone down, so many different manners, so many people speaking, so many publications publishing. And it's just meant to be chaotic, to drive you crazy and to just go, okay, I'm just gonna accept whenever the authority says something and not prod any further. We can't allow that to happen here. I won't allow that to happen here because this something terrible has traumatized the world, okay? And I feel as though when it comes to this, the media, the government, the talking heads, everyone is confusing us about what actually took place with Charlie Kirk, this event, how it got set up. I even would like to know who picked the venue, okay?
During her live stream, she dropped a bombshell, claiming Charlie had started asking the kind of questions powerful people hate. He was digging into things that, according to her, made the US government and its closest allies squirm. She said his curiosity wasn't just annoying them anymore, it was threatening them. And that's when, as she put it, everything changed.
You can examine Charlie in his own words. He was starting to talk about topics that you're not really allowed to talk about when you take money and big checks are being written. That pressure was increasing every single day. In fact, he was telling the truth even about Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen.
Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis.
Owen claimed the note hinted at betrayal, that someone close to Charlie wasn't telling the truth. She didn't stop there. She showed screenshots of his private messages where Charlie talked about Jewish donors suddenly pulling their funding just days before his death. It wasn't just a message anymore. It felt like a warning, a glimpse into the pressure building around him before everything fell apart.
So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, ugh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term. In my opinion, like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself.
Rogan's fans started connecting the dots. They noticed something uncanny. Owens's claims lined up almost perfectly with Rogan's earlier words. Both talked about trust. Both hinted at missing pieces, and both suggested there was something off about the widow. Then things took an even stranger turn. Erica's link to Donald Trump dragged an old clip back into the spotlight. A clip where the president himself seemed to mock Charlie, joking about how he couldn't dodge a bullet like Trump once did. It was dark, it was eerie, and it made people wonder if the joke was more than just a joke.
They seem to become very violent, the left. They've rammed vehicles into federal law enforcement, fired sniper rifles at ICE agents, and me, you know. But I made a turn at a good time. I turned to the right. Charlie couldn't believe it, actually. He said, how the hell did you make that turn? I said, I don't know.
Just when the internet couldn't get any louder, Utah prosecutors dropped a bombshell. They released what they claimed were text messages from the alleged killer, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, sent to his girlfriend. The messages were supposed to be the missing puzzle piece, a confession, but instead, they lit the fuse all over again. Within hours, the internet exploded. Influencers, journalists, random users, everyone had an opinion. Many didn't buy it. They said the messages felt staged, too polished, too perfect for someone Tyler's age. Some even claimed the texts were flat out fabricated by authorities. And the so-called confession? It sounded more like a script than a cry of guilt. For a case already drowning in mystery, this twist just made the water darker.
Around some of these exchanges, there's ellipses above, if you look really closely.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're cherry picking certain exchanges. So that my dad is super MAGA just comes out of nowhere because they picked it from a totally different part of the conversation.
Yeah, these messages are clearly doctored, is what I would say. They're doctored. Now, they could decide why they're doing that. Tyler's being forthcoming. We're protecting him in some capacity. I find that to be unacceptable. Okay? Unacceptable. I want every single text message. I want timestamps. It is conspicuous that you are not telling us when this was sent, because it sounds like it's when the campus is on lockdown and he's got to go back, he's got to clean up, and then all of a sudden we're in the next day when his dad is getting clued in after the picture's been released. They're not telling us that, okay? And you have a right to be a little bit uncomfortable about that, because I'm a lot of bit uncomfortable about that. We need full answers. Further to that point, I have found this strange from the beginning, that for whatever reason, we're not hearing too much about this Lance guy, other than like he's been extremely cooperative. He's handed over his messages. I'm not implying that Lance was involved. I am implying that it's weird that we're not hearing more about him.
Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's former advisor, jumped into the chaos on his podcast, and he wasn't holding back. He said he didn't buy the so-called confession for a second. The texts, he claimed, read like bad theater, too stiff, too rehearsed, too perfect to be real. In Bannon's words, it's not a message from a killer, it's a line from a script. And just like that, another heavyweight voice added fuel to an already raging fire.
You mentioned Charlie. Candace Owens says that the FBI is trying to sell a narrative. What do you think of these allegations?
I don't believe anything about the official narrative they're putting out there. I don't believe this kid right now could possibly be the about all the evidence I've seen, of at least all the videos I've watched, everything I've seen, that text messages, the guy's writing a Shakespeare sonnet. Are you kidding me?
And then came the strangest details of all. On the day of the shooting, several SD cards from Charlie Kirk's crew cameras mysteriously vanished, gone without a trace. And in one frame, a man can be seen adjusting his hat just seconds before the fatal shot was fired. It looked small, almost meaningless. But to the internet, it wasn't a coincidence. It was a signal, a sign that someone knew exactly what was about to happen.
Do you know how many mass have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Grant, do you know how many mass there have been in America?
Last week, on the Charlie Kirk Show, Andrew Colvett dropped a revelation. The real reason those memory cards were taken, what was on them. What did Charlie say that someone desperately wanted buried? Colvett didn't give answers, but Candace Owens sure did. She claimed the footage held something explosive, something powerful enough to shake people at the top. And if she's right, it wasn't just about silencing a man. It was about erasing proof.
No, it's not defensible to be dumb, and he was under an increasing amount of pressure, not just people telling him, oh, well, you know, I'm upset with who you're inviting, but flat out telling him that he was not allowed to invite certain people to his events. They were threatening to pull out money. Charlie was getting a lot of really nasty text messages, and many of them pertaining to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. But Tucker Carlson was really the focus when it came to America Fest. How could Charlie allow these debates about Israel to take place? How could he allow Dave Smith, who, by the way, is Jewish, how could Charlie allow this other position to meet the stage? Because obviously when people start to hear the debates, what Dave Smith is saying sounds so rational, but it was up to Charlie to not allow those things to happen. I would like to contextualize Bibi. Again, these are things Bibi brought up publicly, which he didn't have to. He didn't have to bring up the letter. He didn't have to bring up the phone call, but he chose to do this less than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was shot. Personally, Bibi, I would have appreciated if you guys used all of your spyware, you'd spying on us for years, to maybe track down the killer. But I guess this is where you thought it was best to do a little propaganda for Israel would be better than us helping us track down the killer. But anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu and that phone call, what took place was a couple of weeks ago before Charlie lost his life. Charlie was in the Hamptons, and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote-unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset, and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you, and he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat.
Owens went even deeper, saying Charlie had been offered a huge sum of money to help launder Israel's state narrative. And when he refused, that decision was turned against him. She claimed the pressure didn't just come from critics, it came from people who wanted him controlled. And when he didn't play along, they made sure he'd never speak again.
And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as like, re-education camp. We've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. We just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi. Okay. Bill Ackman, if you would like to dispute that, I would love to hear what you say happened, because our sources and what we have, it's solid. Okay. There were conversations that took place, messages that were sent at that time, and they are solid. So I decided another person that was there, and I am not surprised this person was there. If you've been listening to my show, Seth Dillon, I was going to go out to Seth Dillon, and I decided to message him last night about this Hamptons meeting. And Seth Dillon, who is normally very quick with a response, has not yet been able to respond. I'll show you this text message chain. And I want to be clear, I am not someone who normally publicizes text messages. But my friend was shot in the neck, and I'm just not really in the state right now to be polite when it comes to the answers that I am demanding, okay? This is me out to Seth Dillon last night. I sent him Bill Ackman's tweet because, he tweeted, "I feel incredibly privileged to have spent a day and shared a meal with Charlie Kirk this summer. He was a giant of a man." I said, "Any comment on this one, Seth?" He didn't answer last night. This morning I said, "Need a comment ASAP, please." He didn't answer. Then I followed that up and I said, "Trying again here, you were present when Ackman lost his mind on Charlie and when Bibi invited him to Israel and Charlie refused." Text messages immediately following this meeting are circulating. I find Ackman's statement, as though the meeting was somehow cordial, to be incredibly disturbing. Are you at all disturbed by that tweet? Do you feel, as I do, that this tweet significantly betrays the defined purpose and mood of his, and I presume your, final meeting with Charlie Kirk? ? He was unable to speak to me, but he did place some frantic calls to Turning Point USA. Yeah.
When you put all the puzzle pieces, when you start connecting the dots, it's hard not to wonder, was there more to Charlie's death than what the media wanted us to believe? Online, the public seemed convinced there was, and many pointed straight at his wife. On Reddit, one user wrote that video she posted, her holding his hands, whispering, "I love you," over and over, it didn't feel like grief. It felt performed. Another chimed in, the speech, the hand on his office chair, it all looked staged. And when you learn about her background, it makes sense. She's the exact type that ends up on reality TV. Others went even further. One comment read, "These people are all grifting ghouls." No normal person plans a full-blown circus with pyrotechnics a week after their husband's murder. But not everyone saw her as the villain. Some believed she was just another pawn, a face being used by bigger forces behind the scenes. This is all orchestrated, one user claimed. Turning Point America is pulling the strings. She's just following the script. Whatever the truth is, theories keep multiplying. And now, the real question is, what's the story they don't want us to see?